Here are 6 deep dynasty sleepers that you need to draft if you want to win your dynasty league. We'll tell you who they are next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. You can also check me out over on the Locked On Cowboys podcast. And joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. You can also check him out over on SI, where you can get all of his fantasy content. And on today's show, we're going to be discussing some sleepers, not just any old sleepers, right? We're talking deep sleepers, sleepers that maybe some of your league mates don't even know about. We're talking players that are being drafted outside the top 200 right now on dynastyleaguefootball.com. So, Faz, let's start with some running backs. I want you to go first. Who is that one deep sleeper that you need to know this year?
Yeah, I've got my eye on Kyle Monangai.
There you go.
See what I did there? I'm a poet and didn't know it. If you didn't know who he is, 7th round rookie out of Rutgers, the Chicago Bears, current number 3 back, but maybe that will improve at some point here in the next several weeks. We saw him in the preseason game against Miami. He had 30 yards on 6 carries. He worked primarily in the first half of the game. He's a really tough kind of downhill runner. And he's got workhorse potential. Now, he's not a guy that's going to be a 3-down back because he doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield. He's not much of a pass catcher. He had 38 receptions at Rutgers, and that's it combined. But some other pretty neat stats about him. He had 669 carries with Rutgers and didn't fumble once. So he's very dependable. We like that. And we also like the fact that, listen, a lot of people are, digging on Roschon Johnson, thinking that he may take over the backfield because DeAndre Swift tends to get nicked up. But what about Monangai? Right now, Roschon Johnson's a little banged up. He's dealing with the foot. So Monangai is getting more burn. And even if you look at some of the quotes from some of his teammates, in particular Caleb Williams, Caleb said that he was awesome. And that he was a very smart guy and a really hard runner. He's that old school, Bears type of running back, just a smash mouth type of dude who's going to put his head down and bang between the tackles. Now, we're not going to compare him to, Walter Payton or Neil Anderson. He does not catch the ball out of the backfield. If you guys don't know who Neil Anderson is, by the way, you need to go and check that out. Pretty darn good running back in his day. Not Walter Payton, but still pretty good.
Could he be Thomas Jones if we're talking about Bears running backs that were fun and physical?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no question. So, but he is just a guy that is kind of sitting out there. He's free. And I know 7th round resume, not super sexy, but late in your dynasty startup, I would love to take a chance on this guy. I would love it. Swift is still under contract until 2027, but the Bears can actually opt out after 2026. So, and there's a world where he ends up getting more burn this year and maybe even next year than we're projecting.
I think the other thing is that we are projecting the Bears to be a really good offense this year. I know there's national concerns about Caleb Williams. If you listen to the talking heads, right? I guess we're talking heads. I guess now, right? But you know what I mean? The guys on the network shows, they're concerned about Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson meshing. I'm not. I just think this offense is going to be really good. And maybe it takes a month for them to get on the same page. But I want players from this Bears offense. And if I can get Kyle at this price for basically nothing, why not? This seems like the perfect guy to stash at the bottom of your roster.
He's RB 73 right now.
Yeah, it's nothing.
His ADP is nearly 220. So there is no reason at all not to grab this kid. And who knows, you may find a hidden gem.
All right, my deep sleeper is a shocker, a Dallas Cowboy. Although we don't talk about the Cowboys a ton when it comes to actual players in this team. We mostly talk about the ownership and the front office. But I really like Phil Mafah. I like Phil Mafah coming out of Clemson. This is a big, powerful running back who was on a ridiculous pace last year until he got hurt. But he's healthy now. He looked pretty good in the preseason, and he continues to earn more and more reps with the Cowboys' first-team offense. They've got Javonte Williams on a one-year deal. They've got Miles Sanders on a one-year deal, but he's missed a big chunk of camp. Jaden Blue, who they drafted in the 5th round, he's going to miss his second straight preseason game with a heel injury. Now, those two running backs couldn't be more different. I actually think they pair together really well. But I look at Phil Mafah as a 7th-round pick on an offense that we project to be pretty good, that you can get for nothing right now. He right now on Dynasty League football, RB 88, 276 overall. Like, there's a great chance that he's free in your Dynasty leagues, and I don't think he should be.
RB 88. 88's a very big number in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. And again, Marcus and I are going deep here, like wicked deep. Like, some people don't even know who these players are. I ultimately don't think that the Cowboys starting running back for 2026 is on their roster right now, but he's a player to keep an eye on. He's a player to throw a dart at, because as Marcus mentioned, the Cowboys, their running backs are, listen, I don't want to use a 4-letter word here, but Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are not my favorites. Let's just put it that way. And Jaden Blue is not going to be a featured back. He's not going to turn into Emmitt Smith. He's not going to turn into, DeMarco Murray. It's just not going to happen. So there is an opportunity long-term for a new Dallas Cowboys featured back to emerge here in the very near future.
And what I would say about the talent and stuff is, think back to what we were talking about last year with the Cowboys running back situation. We were talking about Rico Dowdle, who had, I think, 50 career carries going into the 2024 season. He was an undrafted free agent who had missed time with neck injuries. A lot of people thought it was going to be Ezekiel Elliott or Dalvin Cook, or maybe this is that. I mean, believe it or not, there were a lot of people that were thinking Deuce Vaughn was going to be the Cowboys starting running back.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, a guy who's 2 inches shorter than I am, and trust me, I am not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But never was going to happen.
Everything went so bad for the Cowboys on offense last year. Dak missed half the season. CeeDee Lamb was banged up. You had injuries galore on the offensive line, including to Tyler Smith and Zach Martin. Rico Dowdle didn't even start his first game until like week 8, and he still ran for 1,000 yards. Now, I'm not saying that Phil Mafah will, but you're talking about a guy that I think is very similar in talent on an offense that we expect to be really good. I think he should be on your dynasty roster.
If nothing else, on your radar.
Yeah, if nothing else. These two guys on really good offenses that could potentially, like, you could see them getting goal line work. They're two bigger backs. I wouldn't be surprised if we're in middle of October and it's Phil Mafah and Kyle. Please pronounce the last name for me again.
Monangai.
If it's Kyle Monangai, just getting a lot of work. There you go.
Yeah, I had to look that up.
You're a true professional, Fabs.
I try. Listen, I have been on national television on NFL Network and butchered names before, so that
know who like anybody hasn't butchered your name before, right?
Fabini? I know, right. Shannon Sharp, right? When I broke that Devontae Adams story last year, he called me Fabini.
There you go.
Maybe that's where the great Fabini comes from. I don't know who that guy is, anyways. Yeah, but the worst one, brother, and this seems weird. I was live on air. I could not say Tavares Jackson. I couldn't do it. Jackson, easy. Tavares, it's not spelled like that. I couldn't say it. It was awful. Okay, let's move on.
All right, let's talk about some deep wide receivers that you need to be stashing in your dynasty leagues. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, Fabs and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they've just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. And with the season right around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. And if you're more into the classics, you can still play into head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're telling you guys 6 deep sleepers that you need to be rostering. Let's move over to wide receiver. Fabs, who do you got?
Tori Horton, and I actually talked about him when I first started doing the podcast with you as a player that you needed to keep an eye on. And now people are starting to get wise, Marcus. He's getting more and more first-team reps over Marquez Valdes-Scantling because, well, he's Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And we saw in that preseason tie against the Raiders where he had 3 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. And the touchdown was kind of like a spinning athletic type with 3 Raiders defenders around him. So he's got some playmaking ability. And so I actually at this point would not be surprised if Horton is starting with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp when the team opens their season, I believe in San Francisco or against the Niners. He's real fast, and that certainly could be a good fit for Clint Kubiak's system. He's only 22 years old. That's good for your fantasy football dynasty system. There's a lot of upside here. And also, let's keep in mind, like Cooper Kupp is old. I'm sorry, he's 32. He's not a young guy anymore.
I got a question for you on Cooper Kupp real quick.
Okay,
do you think there's a chance we get to like Halloween and Cooper Kupp is just either not having a role on this offense or he's just not on the team? Because like this happens, right? We can go through the list of receivers. Like I remember Julio Jones with the Titans, right? Like we got all excited about Julio Jones, and 2 months into the season, it was just obvious like he doesn't fit and he's not the same player. Could that be the case for Cooper Kupp this year?
It's certainly within the realm of possibility. And you also have to factor in durability, which he has lacked. So I never like when an older wide receiver goes to another team because it almost, unless you're Jerry freaking Rice, like most times it doesn't work.
Or it has to be a really good fit.
Julio
Like
Jones.
I like Devontae Adams fit in Sean McVay's offense, right? Like, and there's certain ones where you can just tell it's going to fit. This one, I don't feel great about.
Yeah, I mean, Adams could be among the outliers, and there certainly are some outliers, but for the most part, older wide receivers go to a new team late in their career. Cooper's been super injury prone. And yeah, I mean, I can see that. I don't want him. I'm not touching him anywhere. Like I'm obviously in Dynasty, his value is not very high because he's 32 years old. But even in a redraft, like I don't want him. I'm not, older dudes at wide receiver who move to different teams, typically, historically, don't really have a lot of success. And so there's a world, Jackson Smith-Njigba is obviously the one. There's no question about that. But there is a world where Tori Horton could end up being as big a sleeper as potentially having some flex value during the course of this upcoming season. You heard it here first.
The Seahawks are a team that I'm just fascinated by this year, partly because of Clint Kubiak, who was the offensive coordinator with the Saints last year. I mean, you remember that start they got off to, including a game against.
Oh yeah, Cowboys, I remember getting the heck beat out of us. By that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But then everything started to fall apart, including, Derek Carr got banged up. The offensive line got banged up. Olave had injuries. Rashid Shaheed tore his ACL. Like, I don't know what that offense could have looked like.
I had him in Scott Fish, and he was just lighting the world on fire. And then,
So is there a chance that Kubiak is just like a really good offensive coordinator and he comes to Seattle and maybe Sam Darnold's not a top 10 quarterback, but gives you functional quarterback play and he's able to support like multiple receivers? Maybe. And again, I just don't trust Cooper Kupp to, number one, stay healthy, or number two, be good anymore. So I think that's a perfect play, is to go out and get Tori Horton because he could be the starting receiver as soon as week 5.
Yeah. Or, I mean, before that, honestly, I mean, I know that, Marquez Valdes-Scantling has a little bit of a history of Kubiak, but he's Marquez Valdes-Scantling, kids. Yeah. I mean, let's not get things twisted.
And the best way to predict injuries is by looking at the guys that get injured a lot. It's really unfortunate, but that's been Cooper Kupp over the last couple of years. So yes, I agree. Keep Tori Horton on your dynasty rosters. He's going to probably be more expensive as we get closer to the season, but I do think he still remains a big value. The guy that I want to mention here is Calvin Austin for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just have this belief, Fabs, that if you are the clear-cut number 2 receiver on an offense. Even if the offense is bad, you shouldn't be drafted outside of the top 225 players. But Calvin Austin is. He's wide receiver 97 right now, 234th overall. He's only 26 years old. The wide receiver coach with the Steelers said he's our number 2 receiver. It's clear as day, right? Now, he's missed some time with an injury during camp. I believe it's an oblique injury. It's not something that's long-term, but what if Aaron Rodgers this year is competent, right? I'm not top 10 quarterback, but just a competent quarterback. I think Calvin Austin playing in the slot, playing on the outside a little bit, could get enough touches to be flex worthy every single week.
Yeah. If you remember last season, there were a few weeks where Calvin Austin started to pop.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it just didn't continue. And I had actually picked him up. I remember him being in one of my waiver wire columns, thinking that he could be somebody that could be useful. But yeah, I mean, their wide receiver group is just it's not great. I mean, honestly, like outside of DK Metcalf, it might be one of the worst in the league. Right? I mean, right. Roman Wilson, we don't know what he is. We know what Robert Woods is, and he's old. And so, yeah, I think Calvin Austin could end up being a nice late round. I mean, he's in the 230s right now based on his in the 200s based on his ADP. So this is a player that is a value who has a path to workload, and that's what we're looking for. And he's young too. So no, I'm in complete agreement with you.
And there's been some speculation that the Steelers are going to add another receiver like Amari Cooper or Gabe Davis.
What are they waiting for? Like, what are we waiting for? Let's just do this now.
It might be those guys are waiting to have training camp over. I mean, knowing Amari Cooper a little bit, he does not love practice, right? So if you can wait 2 weeks and get out of the practice at Latrobe, like I get it. But even if they were to sign one of those guys, it doesn't make me feel any different about Calvin Austin because he's just so much better than those guys at this point in his career. Rodgers isn't going to run like Justin Fields and Russell Wilson did. He's going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Why couldn't Calvin Austin from that slot get 7-8 targets a game?
And I could see him being in the top 3 in targets on that 100%. Team. Like DK, who I love. I've been on DK ever since Rodgers signed with the Steelers, and even before that, expecting that to happen. And I think Jonnu Smith will get a bunch of targets. Remember, Jonnu Smith is a guy who ran more perimeter routes than any tight end in the league. And Arthur Smith knows how to use him. He's not going to duplicate what he did last year, but he's going to be involved in the offense. Pat Freiermuth, obviously going to be involved in the offense. But I think Calvin Austin, depending on the development that he makes here and whether or not the Steelers add another wide receiver, as Marcus had potentially mentioned, could end up being in the top 3 or 4 in targets for the Steelers at season's end.
And when I kind of squint and think about what this Steelers offense is going to look like, I just envision like Rodgers catching a snap, throwing it right away. Like he's not going to hold the ball very long. So you need these kind of water bug type receivers that get open quickly and can make plays after the catch. That's Calvin Austin.
Did you say water bug?
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a Bill Parcells phrase.
I love that. Yes. Bill Parcells. I love him.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some deep tight end sleepers that you need to be stashing. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or in your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. We linked all of our accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted some subscriptions that we just weren't using and that we were just paying every single month. Cut those back. Now we're starting to save a little bit more, building some wealth. It's been absolutely fantastic. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That is 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. NFL fantasy draft season is here, so go make Locked On Fantasy Football your second listen with hosts Vinny Iyer and Kate Majuk. Listen every day to prep for your fantasy draft and become the most informed manager so you can take home your league's trophy this season. Find Locked On Fantasy on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Fabs, let's talk about some tight ends that we are stashing. Who do you got?
And this is somebody that I know you agree with too, and that's Noah Gray, who right now, I mean, his ADP is in the 230s. He's a tight end 37. He's under contract with the Chiefs until 2028. He signed a 3-year extension in 2024. He's just 26 years old. And I've been saying this for forever. Well, maybe not forever, but at least this year. Travis Kelce is maybe going to retire after this year. He's going to be 36 in October. He just did the podcast with Taylor Swift. And I kept thinking to myself, why in the world are you playing football, getting beat up when you could spend all your time with Taylor Swift? And at some point, that's going to be the case. So whether or not he retires after this season remains to be seen. I kind of think that he will. But Noah Gray knows the offense, and there's a possibility that he's the number one tight end in Kansas City going into 2026. And being a big part of a Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes throwing the football is certainly it's an advantageous place to be. So being that he's basically free, basically that he's still just 26 years old, and there is a projected path to workload in a year if Kelce decides to retire. I like him as basically a free pick late in your startup.
The other thing is Noah Gray's just played better the last couple of years. Like every year he's been in the NFL, his numbers have progressively gotten better. Last year, up to 40 receptions. 40 receptions for a backup tight end is actually pretty decent. 437 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's up to 11 yards per reception, which is a career high. I just think he's like a good football player. Now, I do wonder once Travis Kelce retires, if they don't go out and try to get someone a little bit more dynamic. But in the meantime, I think he's a good stash because I don't trust Travis Kelce to stay healthy at all. Like once you get to this age in your career and you have that many miles on your body on and off the field, right? I mean, Travis Kelce is doing a million different things right now. And he even admitted like he thought his play slipped last year because of some of his Hollywood aspirations. Who knows what it's going to look like this year? Like I have some major concerns about Kelce. And if Noah Gray is a starting tight end for, let's say, a 4 or 5 week stretch, I think we're going to rank him as a borderline tight end 1 option. So I agree. If you are in like one of these deep leagues or tight end premium or where you have to start 2 tight ends like I do, Noah Gray is somebody that needs to be on your roster.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And certainly if you end up with Kelce, you want to have Gray as almost like a tight end handcuff, which I guess those can exist in our fantasy football world.
Well, especially if you're in deeper leagues where you have the ability to stash guys. And those are the kind of guys you want to stash. Like, hey, if Kelce goes down, I'm not taking a 0 at tight end. I know I'm going to get something here.
Yep.
Yeah. My guy is Ben Sinnott, who I really like for the Commanders. Tight end 31, 220 overall, only 23 years old, a very, very good athlete. And again, these are the type of tight ends that you want to be stashing. High quality athletes who are young and on good offenses. The rookie season was not great, but that's okay. He doesn't need to have a great rookie year. He's behind Zach Ertz, who's 34. He'll turn 35 in November. I thought Zach Ertz was pretty washed a couple years ago. Like it won't surprise me again, much like Cooper Kupp. If we just get into the season and it's just clear like he can't move anymore. Ben Sinnott, somebody who can block a little bit, can play in the backfield. He actually reminds me of another Washington tight end. Remember Chris Cooley?
Of course, I interviewed Chris Cooley.
Yeah,
multiple times. Yes,
that guy that can be the H-back, fullback, whatever you need him to be. That's Ben Sinnott. I just like him a lot at tight end 31.
There's a funny story about Chris Cooley in that he played fantasy football like while he was a player. He was a big-time fantasy player, probably still is. And there was a game where he was facing a fantasy team that had Chris Cooley. And that game, Chris Cooley, I believe, scored 3 touchdowns against the Dallas Cowboys. And he ended up basically helping his opponent beat him in a fantasy league. I thought that was kind of funny. But
there you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, Zach Ertz is like the ultimate tight end block, right? Yes. In Arizona, it was Trey McBride. And now in Washington, it's Sinnott, and we'll see how much more Ertz has in the tank. My guess is that Sinnott could take over that job at some point next season, if not sooner.
And I wouldn't be afraid of these tight ends that don't do a lot during their rookie seasons because there's a lot of them. I mean, Travis Kelce's one. I'll give you another one. Trey McBride, who I believe was blocked by Zach Ertz once in Arizona.
Yes, that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. 29 catches, 260 yards, and 1 touchdown as a rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. And then the following year, Zach Ertz is still there. And Trey McBride has a breakout season because the Cardinals realize, hey, this Zach Ertz guy can't move and can't make anybody miss. Let's play the younger kid. I think McBride was a better receiving talent coming out of Colorado State than Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State, but they have very similar profiles. I'll take a shot on Sinnott.
Yeah, and he's, again, we're talking about players whose ADPs are in the 200s. And so he's basically free, and that is a very, very good pick based on the value and a potential path to workload in the near future.
Can I ask you about one more before we go? Darren Waller is tight end 33, and I know he hasn't practiced yet for Miami. But is there any part of you that is interested in Darren Waller as like a dart throw late in your dynasty leagues?
Nope.
No
Zero.
chance.
Okay. Dude, he's an older tight end who hasn't played football in over a year. He hasn't even gotten onto the practice field. I have zero interest. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I have zero interest in Darren Waller. Towards the end of his career, he was just not the same dude. He was banged up. He had a few really good seasons in Oakland at that point. And other than that, I mean, remember when he signed with the Giants and everyone was like, oh, Darren Waller is going to be great. And he sucked.
Well, I think that was
He's gonna be good
John
now,
Gruden.
2 years
John
later?
Gruden was a big reason for his success. Like John Gruden knew how to get him the ball and design an offense where I don't have as much confidence in New York.
No, and listen, I could be wrong here, but when you have Tyreek Hill and you have Jalen Waddle, now they did it with Jonnu Smith last year, but Jonnu Smith is way better than Darren Waller at this point in their respective careers. I don't think you're going to see Darren Waller getting 111 targets. In fact, I don't even know how many games he's going to play. If he plays half the season, it might be a win for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
If I were Miami, I would have kind of liked to have gotten Noah Fant, but they had already signed Waller before Fant had gotten released by Seattle. So
there you go. All right. Those are your 6 dynasty sleepers. Just to recap, Kyle Monangai, right? Did I pronounce it right? Monangai. I'll get it. Kyle Monangai. Phil Mafah, Calvin Austin, Tori Horton, that we want, Noah Gray, and Ben Sinnott. Those are the 6 players you need to be stashing at the bottom of your dynasty rosters if you want to win your dynasty leagues this year. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Go follow the show on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. He is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I am at Marcus_Mosher, and we will see you right back here on Friday.